Hello. This week I'm carrying on with some more buildings, and this week I'm going to turn my attention to these shops that I've bought for use in various towns around Normandy, Carentan. You know, all of the major places I can fit these in because they're more generic. As you can see. With this one, I have actually already started in a way because this needed some alteration, as I'll show you in the next few pictures.
Yeah, so basically what was wrong with this building, as you can see, it doesn't look natural. It's got the whole base in there. So what I did is I broke some of it off just using some pliers to make it look more natural. And then to cover up all the sharp edges, I used some milliput.
So, as I often do, I think what I'm going to start with on these is the internals. So I'm going to be doing some papering. I have got some new papers that I've printed off. So I should do some of the internal walls on all three floors of this one. Both on that one and one on that. Obviously the one that we've looked at that I've altered. I've got to make a decision yet on that, but initially I shall be painting it. But first of all, I'm going to turn my attention to the inside. Oh, one quick thing. I think I had another building similar to this. The top piece of this roof, look, it's just a square. There's nothing holding it in place or anything. So I think at some point what I will do is put a couple of lugs on here that's going to hold that in place. So it ain't always slipping and sliding every time you move it. But first of all, I think I did something similar on some of the others. The ones where it's got windows, I think I'm going to just focus on painting those to match whatever wallpaper I put on. But any straight walls with no, windows going through, I shall just wallpaper. That said, I will have to trace the inside of the windows and just paint over the top of the wallpaper to indicate where they are. But other than that, it's, quite straightforward really. So what I'm going to do is I'll measure up some of these papers and get them to size, and then I'll bring you back and we'll start sticking those in place. Right, so I've managed to get all of the wallpapers and floor coverings cut to size, and so now's the process of just sticking them in place. And I'm going to start, with this one so you can see this one. I'll do the other two off camera. But I have gone a little bit more to town with this one, in the sense that I have actually gone to the trouble of cutting wallpaper around the windows. And the reason I've done that, as with all the detailing that this one will get later, is because obviously it's on show all the time. So, it makes it look a little bit more dramatic if I go to the trouble of doing this. So, let's start with the shop floor itself. So let's get the floor in place first. And there you go. We'll do this wall that's got the bomb damage on it next. So as you can see, there's little bits where the wallpaper's not quite caught it, but it's nothing to worry about. The main thing is it sits below the damage. When I'm painting this part up, or adding, you know, smoke damage or whatever, I can buff it over all of this and blend that in. So it's not a big thing really. Get the floor in. Right, so the last one to go in. There we go. So that's that. Again, we're going to be putting some debris in there as well, so any little edges that don't cover right, we can sort them out. So that's that one. And to be honest, that's, you know, I did this one just to show you that it can be a little bit, you know, awkward. Most of these are straightforward because they're just straight lines. So what I'll do now is I'll get these other two done off camera, then we'll let them dry. What I might do off camera is just paint some of the walls that have not been papered. I mean, I will show you those, but we'll get them done before we move on to any other stages. So I'll bring you back shortly. So as you can see, all the wallpapering and floors are done now. I'll just put these together now that they've dried. And another thing that I've managed to get done is this roof. I've just stuck on a couple of old bits of sprue that were left over, and then when I plonk that down in there, stops it moving around. Let's just put these together now. Right, so the next thing that I'm going to do, mainly because it's going to be the longest process, is start the base decorating of this one. Now, because it's all stones, and because I have to go with a vaguely sandstoned finish, you know, because most of the buildings in Normandy seem like that, and I think that way it'll keep them all matching together when I put them on the table. You can have some variants, obviously. You don't have to be perfectly, you know, sandstone colour all the way, but what I'm going to do here is a technique you've seen me do before, where I pick out lots of individual stones with variants of colour, and for that I've picked this palette and squirted a few colours. I mean, there's more, but they'll do for now. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sit and pick out individual bricks at random in certain colours. So I'll start with the bottom floor. I'll just do a few, I won't drag you along the whole process. But what I tend to do is just pick one colour out at a time to save having to keep washing out the brush and switching over. Just trying to pick bricks at random. Obviously, it is a long job, but I don't tend to mess around, you know, thinking about details on this. It's just random. So as you can see, it's going to take a bit of time, but it's worth the effort because it gives the building a distinctive look. And where they go round corners, obviously I follow that through. Although I'm doing one side at a time, it'd be madness not to have the same brick the right colour. So I'm following that onto this. Right, well, what I'm going to do now is I'll get on and get this done so it's all the multicolours, and then I'll bring you back so you can have a look at what it looks like. So I've completed all the different coloured stones. Yes, I know it's looking a little bit psychedelic, but once we've put on the over colour, it'll bring all that down and you won't see such a, you know, eyesore really. It'll look more natural. But what I'm going to do now, before I do that, is I'm going to switch back to the internals, and any of the walls that need painting, I'm going to get them painted now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of these old 50p tester pots that I bought. Oh, I must have had these a fair while now, but they should still be okay. So I'm going to use them to paint the insides on the walls that are not wallpapered, and that'll be the inside done for now, and then we can turn ourselves back to the outside. So this one, I'm going to try this green. Doesn't look too bad. I know this seems a bit of a big brush for this, but I've found this brush gets a nice smooth coat, and then anything that I miss that's harder to get to, I can finish off with a smaller brush. There we go. So I'm going to go through all of these now and just any of the internal walls, we'll get them done, and then I'll bring you back. So now it's time to give this a brush over, and I've tried to mix a lighter colour of the beige that I normally use. You can see that it's blending in more now. You can still see the colours coming through, but it's more of a beigey colour now. And that's not the end of it anyway, because once I've got this on, then there'll be obviously the weathering and things like that that'll help take that down even more, but still give a little bit of highlight to it. There you go. As I say, you can still pick out the individual colours, but they're going to look even less so when we start adding, you know, like I'll have to give it a white dry brush as well, and then it'll be the weathering on top of that. Right, so that's that one done. And now I'll crack on with the other ones, and then I'll bring you back. The next thing I'm going to do is to touch up all these window pane frames in white. I will be coming back to the outer surface because it's still not quite how I want it yet. But I'm going to start, as I say, with the window frames. It is just the frames that I want. You can see what difference it makes with it being picked out, especially when we we paint the roof and everything else. You'll see it even more. Right, I'm going to crack on with the rest of the windows because it's a bit boring for you to sit and watch that, and then I'll bring you back.
So after finishing the windows, I decided to start on the roofs as well. You know, get all the dark parts painted in readiness for the next stage. The other thing that I thought about doing is to paint the bottoms of all of the adjoining pieces, because they'll act as the ceilings for the floor below.
So now that I've touched up all the white areas, and I've also made sure the bottoms of any of the adjoining ones are white, because obviously that's the ceiling for above, for the one below, and it'll help bounce any light round if I put lights in them. So what I've done now is I've mixed up a very pale sandstone colour, and again I've mixed it with some glue and some grit because I want it to have a slight rendered look, and that's what I'm going to paste on here, except for where the bricks are showing through. There you go. Right, I'm going to carry on doing that to all these floors on the little ones. I don't have to do it on that one, as I've said. And when that's dry, we'll come back for the next stage. Now that all of that's drying, I'm turning my attention to the shop front. And I'd already decided on the shop title that I've come up with through, looking at old shops from the period, and then just, modifying some of it. And having printed out the labels that I'm going to use for the shop signs, I'm going to go with that for the colour that I'm painting the shop front. And each shop is going to be, different based on that, whatever title I've given it. And what I've decided to do is I'm just going to paint some of this smaller detailing like that, and I'm also going to paint inside these panels as well. Obviously I'll be painting all the door blue, but I'm going to paint inside here as well. Obviously I'd already painted the base white colour, and now I'm just painting within the shapes. Right, just do the inside of the door. The blue door, a bit of a clash with the green, I know, but I only came up with the shop idea after I'd done the decorating, so one to bear in mind in the future though. And what I shall do is, I'm going to, because I've got that theme, I might as well paint all of the doors blue, and the internal doors, and that'll be that bottom one done. So I've just got this door and this door, and I think there's another one on this side. And yeah, it's not looking too bad. And when it's got its title up above the shop as well. Right, I'll press on, get the rest of these done, and then I'll bring you back. Right, so I've done all the shop fronts now, so now I'm turning my attention to some of the smaller detail, like the guttering. And again, I've just mixed up a bit of a dark grey, but with some metallic as well. Because essentially what we're doing now is getting all the little details, like these, and I shall get the chimney pots done as well. And, once we've done all that, then we can start thinking about the actual weathering. I do want to put the shop signs in place though before I do that, because I want everything to be weathered the same. And one other thing that I will be doing during this, detailed stage, is just going round and touching up any little bits that stand out, bits where I've caught it with another paint, or little bits missed here and there, because you don't want to be finding them after you've done this bit. Right, so that's it for that floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same on all of the others now. And when that's done, I shall also get the, because you've seen me paint them before, I'm going to paint the chimney pots up on the two of them. And then, like I say, just tidy up any little bits that where I've missed paint or whatever. And once that's done, I can let them all dry. And then when we come back to it, we'll be ready. Because before I do the actual weathering, I'm going to dress this up a bit inside the bombed one. And I'll bring you back for that. So, as you can see, I've been busy painting up a few small pieces of debris to put inside the bomb damaged building. I've got a few little bricks that I've painted to a sandstone colour that I can use in there. Some planks, some mounted picture frames, some bottles which I'm going to leave their natural colour, a few little chairs and some crates. So, oh, and I also ground myself some new plastic glass, as well as painting up a few sandbags. Right. I don't want to put, so much in that I can't find, a place to stand any men I want to put up there. So I'm not going to use all of this, but just place the odd bit here and there. Let's start with the that piece. I've got this little cupboard thing. I should use that one. A sideboard of some kind. I'm going to use a combination of PVA for some of the lighter bits, and for this one I'm going to put super glue on it because I don't want it falling out, just in case the PVA doesn't keep it. There we go, that's better. Put a few bottles on there, look. It's unlikely they'd have been there through the bombing, but they could have been placed there since. Put a picture frame on that wall. do now is I'm going to paint a little bit of the PVA and put some of the glass down. There we go, that's not too bad. Some smaller bits there. So it's coming on. So I've got to put a few floorboards and a couple of bricks down there, another picture on the wall. And as you can see, the little shards of glass near the windows. I don't want to overdo it because I want plenty of room to place my troops. I'm probably not going to, I don't think I'm going to probably use the door in this because it might look too bulky. But I've still got the other floors to do yet, so I'll leave that one for now. One thing I wanted to do with this is, because I kind of fancy this as being an idea. I mean, you can't get a whole troop up there, but you could certainly have a spotter or a sniper team. So I'm thinking I might use a couple of sandbags on this one and maybe a crate or something to try and create a little bit of, you know, cover. Alright, so that's how that's looking at the minute. So that fits on there. What I might do is I might see if I can put something against this wall in here to make it look like that's how they get up into that bit. But you can see it's starting to look a little bit more dressed now. Right, bear with me a minute and I'll just see if I can find something that will do that job. I had a bit of a look for a ladder, but I think I've used them in the last project. I'll have to make some more. So what I've gone for instead is that they've pulled together, you know, crates and boxes that have perhaps fell down from the attic, and using that to clamber up there, clamber onto there, clamber onto this bit, and then into there. It's clearly it's not necessary. It's just something I like to do, really, with some of my buildings, just to so it tells a bit of a story. But I think, you know, debris wise, I think I'm probably going to leave it there because I want plenty of room to get troops in on this level. And the same with this one, really. Obviously, these two little plank pieces here I've stuck on, so they're not going to come off. And that's like the story for the top two. But so on this one, all I really want is a bit of debris, you know, that's come down from this wall. Just use up them last few bricks on this bit, I think. Yeah, because I've put a few loose bricks on this bit as well. And a loose bottle just rolling across the floor. Right, I think I'm going to leave it with that light touch, really. But when you put it all together, I think it looks the part. I mean, obviously, I can weather that now when that dries as well, which is going to help. Especially now that I've got this flory dust wash. I should imagine that will make some of that look pretty good. And the bit on the ground floor, still plenty of room in there for troops. Right. Well, I think that's pretty much it now. I've just got to let that dry and then we can have a look at starting the weathering process. So I'll bring you back when we're ready to start that. One thing that I did want to do is I just wanted to put a couple of posters on this one. So I'll just show you that. All I'm doing is putting down some PVA. over it as well. There we go. They're just random posters that have been put up, is how I'm visualising it. Should have a bit more glue on that, I think. The good thing about the paper, as opposed to printing it out on anything better, is it does have that weathered look already, especially if you overdo it a bit with the glue. There we go. Right, that definitely is it now. I'm going to let them dry off and then it's straight onto the weathering process. Right, so we've reached that stage now where we can begin the weathering. I'm not going to do anything, you know, complicated. I'm using this Flory grime wash initially. That's looking pretty good. I'm quite happy with that. I think when it's dried a bit more, I might introduce a few streaks as well. But on the whole, I'm pretty pleased with that. Right. Get another brush just to get some water off onto that. go. I'll tidy up the sign work in a minute. What I'm going to do with that one is I'm going to let it dry, and then what I might do is try a little bit of the flory dust wash on it as well, in places on the roof particularly. But you can see the difference already against the other two. There we have it. I think that's not too bad. It's looking like it's seen a bit more action now. You can see the difference. Right, I'll get this last one done, and then we'll take a few pictures and we'll wrap this one up.
Right, so they're all complete. It makes such a difference, you know, by weathering things. To me, it brings them to life. My wife was disappointed because she walked in and said, "Oh, you've messed them all up now." I hope I haven't. But no, I think that it does make them look a bit more realistic, I think. And the dust wash is excellent, especially for bomb damage. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with them, really. They're certainly looking the part. And, you know, they'll make a nice... You know, I could use them as a set in somewhere like Carentan, or use them individually in different towns.
Right, so that wraps these ones up, really. I think I've said it before, there's so much more you could do if you wanted to. I mean, normally I would add a little bit of smoke damage on here as well. You know, introduce some burns from the initial damage. But I'm trying to keep these relatively simple. You know, so they'll work in a variety of scenarios. Anyway, hope you found it interesting. Hope there's something in it that you can take and use in your own models. And if you have enjoyed it, as I always say, please consider giving me a thumbs up or even subscribing for when the next project is completed. Right, thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.